Okay, folks, we're going to be talking about one of our elements of art today. We're going to be talking about space. When we talk about space in art, what we're talking about are the distances between, within, and around pieces. So we're going to make a little study guide here. Just to start off with, I'm going to break my paper into a few sections. I'm going to draw 6 lines, just the width of my ruler. Okay, and that's going to give me a few sections for us to work with. To start with, let's just talk about, again, that element of art, that is space. Write that nice and big here at the top. And we're talking about distance. That's our key word there. Between, within, or around an object. Now, obviously, when you're working with a two-dimensional plane, you can't really have a lot of distance in that 2D plane. But there are some things you can do to trick the eye into making it look like there's space even when it's not there. We have 6 methods to do this. The first one is size. The second is placement. The third is overlapping. The fourth is value. The fifth is detail. And the sixth is linear perspective. And I've given that a little bit of extra room so we can go in more detail with this one right here. Okay, most of these are pretty self-explanatory. For size, things that are bigger are going to appear closer to us. So say I have a box here, we'll label that number 1. That's going to look closer to us than this small box here, which I'm going to label number 2. When we talk about placement, we can further this illusion. So what I'm going to start with here is a line called the horizon line. And the horizon is just where the sky and the ground meet. Now, when we talk about placement, what we mean there is things that are closer to the horizon line, things that are higher up on our picture plane. Let's say I'm going to do a box right here. They're going to look further away than things that are towards the bottom of your picture plane. So I drew 2 boxes here, one that's lower, further away from my horizon, and one that's closer to my horizon. It's actually just sitting right there on it. So box 1 is going to look like it's closer to us because it's a little further away from the horizon than box number 2. Overlapping just means that one object is going to be sitting in front of another. It's going to prevent you from seeing the rest of that other object. So in this instance, box number 1 is covering part of box number 2, so you can't see all of it. And that makes box number 1 look like it's in front. Now if I reversed that, now I can see all of box number 2, but not all of box number 1. Now it looks like box number 2 is in front, or it's closer to us. Value is another element of art. You should remember from talking about that before that refers to how light or dark something is. When we're talking about creating the illusion of space, objects that are darker in value will look closer to us than objects that are lighter in value. This is a principle called atmospheric perspective, where basically the atmosphere itself, the air, gets in the way of our eyes and it makes things look lighter as they go farther away from us. So I'm just going to draw some really quick mountains here. Let's do a few. 1, 2, and 3. Little organic shapes there. So the mountains that are closest to me, they're going to be really dark. Real quick shading job here. Now the mountains that are in the midground, this is in the middle, they're going to be a little bit lighter in value. They have a mid-tone. While the mountains that are furthest away in the background are going to be just as light as we can make them. Because again, we've got that atmosphere interfering. So in this case, we've got a background. These are furthest away. A midground here in the middle. And here in the front is the foreground. Now, detail is another pretty self-explanatory one. If you think about as things get further away, it's going to be harder to read them. Kind of like when you go to the eye doctor and they put things further away from you. It gets harder to read as you go. So for this example, I'm going to do a few yield signs because they're simple shapes. They're just triangles. Let's do one here. And remember, they're going to move up towards the horizon as they go and get smaller too. Here's one a little bit smaller, a little further away. And here's a small one back here. Now, the one closest to me will be very easy to read. The one that's in the midground, you probably could guess what it says, but it's harder to read because it's further away. And the one back here in the background, you probably can't read that at all. There's not much detail on it because it's too far away for you to see. Now, our last one here, linear perspective, is a little bit more tricky. Now, you may notice the line part of linear perspective. That's because it uses lines to make the illusion of space. This is a mathematical way of creating an illusion of objects receding into the distance. It really kind of helps you make it look like there's a lot of space in your picture. So again, I'm starting with this horizon line. And on my horizon line is a point called the vanishing point. And as the name suggests, the vanishing point is where all objects seem to vanish or disappear. Now, when I'm drawing in linear perspective, and in this case, I'm drawing in 1 point perspective, okay, because there's only one vanishing point. You can have up to 3. We're just going to keep it simple and talk about 1. All of the lines that I draw are going to go back here. So I'm just going to draw a very simple road. So here's my diagonal lines, also called orthogonal lines. And they're going to go to that vanishing point. And say I do some dashes on the road, like this is a road we're driving on. That's also going to go to the vanishing point. And just that very simple trick makes it look like all of these lines are receding into the distance, and it gives you that illusion of a lot of space. You could do the same thing with an object. Say I did a very quick box here, and I really should be using my ruler for, but this is just a quick example. Okay, I want to make that box look three-dimensional. I'm going to take the corners of it back to my vanishing point. Notice how I'm using my ruler to line that up. Just the corners that you can see. I wouldn't do this one because it would cut through my box here. And then I'll just do the sides of that object here. Close it off. And then you've created a three-dimensional object. So you have 6 methods that you can use, and if you can combine all of these, you can create very realistic drawings that will include this illusion of space.